Um, in your head, do you have an idea about what would be successful? Kind of 2 weeks. Obviously, with so many new faces, it can't be as simple as 2 wins is success for you.
Yeah, I think it's about implementing, old and new into Irish game plan again, and playing the Irish way, and seeing how players do in that environment or in this environment, and how they can produce big efforts and big performances. So it's about building, I suppose, that catalogue of experience with those players, and giving them a feel of what Test rugby looks like.
When you talk about implementing playing the Irish way, it sounds like there won't be too much difference between a Paul O'Connell Irish team and an Andy Farrell Irish team. Is that how you see it?
Exactly, yeah, it'll be very, very similar, if not the same. So that's the plan, is just to really play the Irish way, and to try and do it as well as we can. And obviously we're missing a big chunk of the players who are going to Australia with the Lions, but it's a great opportunity for the boys coming in to show what they can do and just build on this, some of the things that they've done to date.
You mentioned some of the lads coming through there. There's still plenty of experience around the squad as well. Is it about them being able to sit down with some of the more experienced lads and kind of pick their brains and learn from them?
Yeah, I think that's the luxury of being in camp. You get to experience when you're a young player, rubbing shoulders with experienced players, asking them questions, learning from their experiences, and that's really what it is about. Being an Irish camp and sharing the IP among the group and bringing everyone along and getting on the same page.
In terms of Georgia, then obviously a big test for a young Irish team. Really, can you just talk to us about some of the challenges that they'll pose?
Yeah, they're a very experienced Georgian team. A lot of them have played in World Cups. A huge amount of them play in the top 14. So they're well accustomed to big games, been in tough environments. So it's a really good challenge for our young team, and to go to Tbilisi into a bit of a bear pit. It's going to be physical. It's going to be hot. It's everything that you want to expose our young players to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Dennis, can I just ask you about Paul? Like, how excited you've been to work with him in this environment? You obviously know him very well, going back so many years.
Yeah, it's very exciting to be working with Paul again. Obviously, he's carved out a hugely successful coaching career. So to come in and work with him, he's been very good to us. He's given us clear guidelines in terms of what he wants from us as coaches coming in from the provinces, and playing the Irish way and implementing that game plan. So he's given us clear guidelines, and he's been very helpful in just I suppose challenging us, but also creating a very good atmosphere to work in.
He was obviously a great leader as a player, so can you see clear leadership with him now as a coach?
Yeah, Paul's a natural leader. He's a brilliant leader. So I think his presence alone is a great starting point. And look, he understands the game inside out. He's great knowledge, and his way of parting that knowledge with the players is hugely impressive.
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, Dennis, you once played it yourself in an era where just the back row was stacked. It seemed to be that way ever since. But now we're at a period where Pete's retired, Caelan's out, for a while with an injury as well. Do a lot of the lads see that this is a big opportunity to maybe grab a jersey and keep hold of it until maybe the autumn as well?
Absolutely, it's about putting down a marker. It's a great opportunity for some of the lads who are coming in. I think of someone like Gavin Coombs, Keane Prendergast, Izzy, players like that, just to get in and really get in front of coaches, get people talking about them. And we're very lucky in Ireland. We've always produced very good back rows, and I'm sure going forward that'll be no different.
Is there much more about Tom Ahern? He seems to be very a lot is hoped of him. He's got a lot of qualities as well, and then sometimes he has a setback every now and then. Is there any kind of news on him, and hoping maybe to get one game out of him on that tour?
Yeah, Tom is good to go. He's fit and he's ready to go, and Tom has progressed hugely over the last couple of years and has put in some excellent performances for Munster. So he's a guy we have high hopes for, and absolutely, hopefully he'll get game time and do really well. And he's such a promising player. I've no doubt he can do that.
And then just last one for me would be, if you kind of look at the squad, maybe you might only say there's the lack of let's say specialist locks. There's a lot of guys who can cover second row and back row as well. Do you have your eyes on certain guys that you'd again, you're telling them there's a big opportunity here to kind of get starting time as a lockdown as well.
Yeah, well, all the guys has kind of been mixed and matched in training at the moment. So all the guys have kind of jumped in and out in those positions. So like the game is ever changing, and the type of second row is changing. And you see the likes of Tom, and you see the likes of Izzy, you know, Ryan Baird. These guys are such athletic specimens, and they cover the ground so well. But that's what the game demands at the moment.
Excellent. Any further questions for the live section before we go into embargoed? Okay, great. So the rest is embargoed to midnight tonight. Simon.
Yeah, Dennis, given that Richie Cockrell and Georgia clearly aspire to Six Nations membership, does that make them more dangerous in terms of having a point to prove?
Yeah, I think they'll have loads of reasons. We can't say exactly, but you'd imagine that Georgia would have loads of reasons to be inspired to play a huge game against us on Saturday. So we're expecting a really tough game. We're expecting, you know, opponents that are really well put together by their coaches. You mentioned Richard Cockrell. You know, you have Conor McPhillips, who's worked in the Irish system as well, who's been with Bristol as well. He's a really experienced attack coach, so you can see in their game that they're well put together, they're physical, they've got a great platform around their scrum, their maul, their line out. So it is a big test, and it's going to you know, we're out of our comfort zone, if you like, and it's exactly the sort of test that we're looking forward to.
Can you understand their sense that they think they belong in that company in the Six Nations?
Yeah, well, look, I think you can't really talk too much for Georgia, but you get the sense that they're building all the time, and it's great to see a nation like Georgia emerge and put, you know, the tier 1 teams, if you like, under pressure consistently.
Yeah. You mentioned Gavin Coombs. It seemed from outside that the door is kind of shut for him in terms of test recognition, but like, what have you seen from him in an Ireland camp as opposed to a Munster camp, and why is the door still open for him?
I think Gavin has, you know, he's turned up, he's looking fit, he's looking hungry the last few days. I think he's applied himself really well, he's been really good in training. And I think Gavin has been, you know, in and out of Irish squads over the last couple of years, and I think, you know, the times he's been left out, he's understood the reasons why, and it's been very fair, and there's been a lot of work on. So Gavin has gone away and worked hard on those parts of the games, and he's back in now, and you know, he has that chance now on Saturday. Hopefully, you know, if selected, that he can go and apply that, and, you know, put his best foot forward. And he's, you know, he's a guy that you know, over the last couple of years has been very good for Munster.
Dennis, what do you feel are the things Gavin is doing particularly well at the minute?
I think he's hugely strong around opposition 22. His ability to make yards, score tries, I think he's one of the best around at that. And his general play is improving all the time. So his work rate between 22 and 22, his ability to make yards in open play, his ability to you know, clock up big numbers in his tackles, his rucks, and his fundamentals around his basic play around number 8 at the base. You know, his line up maul stuff, he's improving that all the time, and that's why I think he's back in, you know, back in this environment.
What do you feel are the benefits of having Caroline Kurd involved on this tour, and what does her role look like?
Caroline won't be touring, just to be clear. She's only here in the Irish leg.
Okay, so
hugely impressive. I know she's worked with, you know, so many GA teams like Dublin and Tipperary, and I think she won a few with Limerick as well over the last couple of years. So look, her record speaks for herself, and you know, even speaking to her, she's got a great take on things. You know, she's really gifted in getting her point across to players, and the players are loving having her around. She's a real character.
Sorry, just not sure if Dennis raised it when I nipped out there for a second. Scott Wilson has been added to the panel as well, so he'll be travelling with the squad as well, just so you're aware.
Dennis, I was going to ask you how many coaching hats you're wearing this week, and what are your roles within the
What's my role? The actual hats are just the one green one this week, which is nice. My coaching role is defence, yeah. So the broad brief of defence and everything that entails.
And in terms of, have you done any breakdown work or anything like that, or no?
We've done a lot of. I would look after the defensive breakdown. So we'd look to be applying pressure over their ball in terms of poaching and barging and stuff like that. So all things defence. Cully and Paul and Mike have, they're very, very good around the attack breakdown stuff.
And in terms of what you've seen, because Georgia aren't one-dimensional, they have some very, very good backs as well. And you touched on the fact that a few of them play in France, and they've kind of line breakers, game breakers. So who has interested you in terms of your research?
I think it's very clear that they're well put together off their launch players, off their launch plays, their scrums, their lineouts. They have really good 3-phase, 4-phase plays, and they run them really well. Their big threat is Nina Yashvili. He's obviously an excellent player, but they're very well put together at 10 by Matkeva. He runs the thing very well. So I think they have the ability to play around you. They have the ability to take you on confrontationally. And they're a very, very well coached team. But you can see that they're top level rugby players, and they're well used to playing in a big league like France.
Did you see anything in the Lions matches that you've seen to date in terms of the way they're being officiated at the breakdown that would give you pause for thought, or is it just more of the same? It just seems to be a little bit more.
No, we just have to understand how the clean pictures to referees. That's constantly the work on in applying pressure but trying to be clean. So that's something that we've done an awful lot of over the last couple of days. There's nothing that's too new to us, but it's always about staying calm and applying as much pressure within the pictures that we're showing referees.
Thank you.
Yes.
Does it lend to, I suppose, your development as a coach when, rather than say it's just Munster, you meet players from all the 4 provinces?
Yeah, it definitely, it's brilliant to come in and just get different perspectives on how the different provinces are playing the game. Everyone's playing the game relatively similar, but there's little tweaks here and there, and everyone sees the game slightly different. A lot of the boys I have worked with at either Leinster or at Irish under-20s level, so I know the vast majority of them, and it's lovely to see them develop as players and how they've grown into men and how they've developed their own perspective on the game and their own opinions. So it's excellent to be back in around them.
And we just find that when it's a national setup, that the unity is there kind of straight away, that they all mix.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think my generation, there was huge rivalry, and I think there is still rivalry, but it took us a few weeks to kind of the frostiness to wear off, and the boys just seem to get on so well. Like, they're straight in, they're best mates, they're constantly over and back on WhatsApp and all the different platforms. But yeah, it's it's better than when I was a player. I think they've grown up a little bit from when we were there.
Is it kind of a challenge, like when, say with Munster, you're there day to day, and maybe you don't have as much time with them to get sort of a structure or something like that? Like, how do you kind of impart something?
Paul has helped us greatly in terms of giving us a very, very clean, pretty narrow, enough brief in terms of what we want to get across to them. Because we're only together for 2 weeks, 3 weeks counting last week. It's important that you don't overload players. So we're trying to keep things pretty tight, have a very distinct game plan, and just keep reinforcing that with our language, and just keep coming back to what we want to do. So it's pretty easy from that point of view. But the challenge is trying to get that workload through them as well.
Finally, do you think Tipperary will beat Kilkenny on Sunday?
I think it's going to be a very close game, but Kilkenny will always get the best out of Tipperary. So I think Tip by 1, yeah.
Thanks. Neil?
Dennis, just for lads who are uncapped, the kind of motivation is fairly straightforward, but for the more experienced guys who've played the Six Nations World Cup, is there a challenge for them when they find themselves in these sort of scenarios when Lions is the main show and they're on a tour like this?
Yeah, look, I lean on my own experience a little bit with that, being on tours in 2009 when you're on standby for the Lions, and it is a challenge, but you have to keep your mind on the job that's in front of you, and you have to be very conscious of being as good as you can be in that space. Obviously, you're watching what's going on in Australia if there's an injury or an opportunity coming, but the boys will be very good around that. Their focus will be Ireland, and whatever happens after that will happen.
Can you tip us off who the vice captain is?
I can't because
Can't name the team, yeah.
I don't know myself.
No, I just meant the squad vice captain, just in terms of, I don't know, just between us almost, if Craig Casey were to be called up, you would surely have somebody.
I genuinely don't know.
Fair
I
enough.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
No, like there's a leadership group, so.
Yeah, there is leaders. Yeah, there
Who's
is.
in the leadership group? Ryan Baird, I presume. Great.
Probably one for Paul on Thursday.
Yeah, Paul is looking
Yeah.
after all that sort of stuff.
Just we're trying to be quick, you know, in case there was a call.
Now Paul will be across all that stuff. Yeah.
Any other questions, guys?
Just
Yeah.
throw one more. It's not exactly a new thing, but you can see the Springboks really leaning into it now at the moment, even with using backs now in the back row and stuff. What's your kind of take on hybrid players, and is this something you guys might even try out on this tour?
Playing forwards in the back line and backs in the, it's not something we'll try out, but I definitely think there are certain players in the game that can do it. Yeah, there are certain players, not many, but there are certain players that can go between the two. It's a tough challenge. The game is full of different technical, aspects, and it can be hard to cover all that off. But there are, obviously the game is changing all the time, and with the way benches are 6'2", 7'1", they have the ability of back row forwards to play in the backs is a great tool to have.
You were the original hybrid player.
Yeah.
You played 3 positions. Can you just talk about how difficult that was?
It was really difficult because I was really bad as a centre, so it was really difficult. Regan King ended my, he was a centre for Scarlets in New Zealand, but he ended my dreams of being a back in Musgrave Park one night pretty badly when I conceded 4 tries in the first half. So, yeah, but there are certain guys definitely who are equipped to do it in the modern game.
Just from when you were a centre, when those penalties are going on, would you have ever been able to take a penalty? You kicked in school and all of that, but would you be able to get involved in the penalty shootouts?
No.
No,
I don't think so.
Just once you stop kicking that way.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks, Dennis. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.